Hi everyone, my name is Ayan Jama. I am the acting manager for the diversity inclusion at the USU. We will start today's. We want to start today's program by respecting and acknowledging the land in which we currently reside. We know land acknowledgements are used by Native and non-Native people to recognize Indigenous peoples who are the original stewards of the land on which we now live. California State University Northridge recognizes and acknowledges the Safitam, the first people of this ancestral and unceded territory of Sasavenga, that is now occupied by our institution, and it honors their elders, their past and present, and then the Sazavitan descendants who are citizens of the Fernandino Totavian Band of Mission Indians. We recognize that Sasavitams are still here, and we are committed to uplifting their stories, culture, and community. Consistent with our CSUN values of respecting all people and our alliance with the community, we have a responsibility to acknowledge and make visible the university's relationship to Native peoples. By offering this land acknowledgement, we affirm Indigenous sovereignty, and we will work to hold the California State University Northridge accountable to the needs of American Indian peoples in the region. Welcome, everyone.
Well, thank you for that really important acknowledgement, Ayan. Really appreciate it. And good afternoon. And thanks to everyone for being here and demonstrating your very clear commitment to enabling human potential and supporting student success. This speaker series plays a really important role in facilitating dialogue around campus about how we can best support our students and create a campus community that is deeply rooted in the values of equity, inclusion, and belonging. And I'd just like to begin by thanking Dr. Melanie Bocanegra and the team in the Office of Student Success for creating these spaces. So we have the opportunity to facilitate these conversations, as well as the University Student Union and the Chief Diversity Office for their partnership. I will tell you that I am incredibly proud that CSUN continues to serve as a guiding force for recovery from the multiple intersecting crises illuminated by the pandemic and the disproportionate impact that they have had on our BIPOC communities. Our campus has a long and rich history of serving a vibrant and wonderfully diverse student population, and we are committed to nurturing graduates who will leave our campus as change makers and leaders who will advance a brighter and more equitable future for us all. I know many of you are aware that this year our Common Read Committee selected When They Call You a Terrorist by Patrisse Cullors. And Miss Cullors is well known for her work in the Black Lives Matter movement. But before she was a nationally recognized social justice leader, she was a member of our community right here in the San Fernando Valley. And she had a powerful message for our students and really for all of us as educators. She was inspired to change what was happening in her community, and she urged every one of us to empower ourselves and our students with the tools we need to craft the future we seek to inhabit. And Dr. Sean Harper, our first speaker in this series, asked us to see our students for the scholars that they are and to center their experiences in the changes that we make. And it is with these goals in mind that our event today focuses on students who have made CSUN a stronger campus through their dedication to inquiry, discovery, and social change. And they are examples of strength and scholarship that we can all learn from. So we're really delighted today to welcome the students from the Build ProDare program and the Afrocentric Research Conference to share their stories, research, and reflections. And it is a wonderful opportunity to listen and to learn from our students. So thank you to each of our students who will be sharing with us today. So now let me welcome Dr. Melanie Bocanegra, Associate Vice President for Student Success, who will get the program started with introductions.
Thank you so much, Dr. Beck. We so appreciate you being here to kick us off today. We're really excited to get started with our panel presentations today. So our program will include two sets of student panels. The first panel will focus on students who are part of the Build ProDare program, as just mentioned. And our second panel will be centered on the Afrocentric Research Conference students. Our goal today as a group is to listen actively to the student stories and understand the role that we all play in inspiring student scholarship. So when we talked to students today about our session, one of the first questions our students asked me was, are we scholars? And my answer was yes. Your voices, your experiences, your contributions to this campus is what makes us special and makes you a valued member of our community. And so I encouraged our students today not only to see themselves as scholars, but as our future colleagues and really the guiding force for change on campus. And so I'm so excited to introduce the first panel, and each of these students is part of the building infrastructure leading to diversity, promoting opportunities for diversity and education and research, PODER, so Build PODER, which is an NIH-sponsored grant program that targets undergraduate biomedical research training. And for those of you who don't know, poder means Spanish, is Spanish for power, and to be able to. And so they really focus on incorporating social justice in their mission. So I want to start by giving the first sets of students the opportunity to introduce themselves, and then we will engage our expert panel facilitators today, Dr. William Watkins, Vice President of Student Affairs, and Provost Mary Beth Walker, to engage with some Q&A after the students introduce themselves. So let's start. Diana.
Hi, everyone. My name is Diana Alvarado. My pronouns are she, her. I'm a psychology major, anthropology minor, and I'm also a transfer student from LACCD. And as you may also know, I'm a Build PODER scholar. It's my second year in the program, and it's my senior year overall. So I'll be graduating this coming spring, which I'm really excited about. I'm also co-manager for the Culture, Health, and Development Lab that is run under Dr. Yolanda Vázquez Salgado in the psychology department. Outside of research, I'm a peer mentor for the psychology department, where I help freshmen and newly transferred psychology students navigate their classes, the campus, and overall help with professional development. I really enjoy giving back to the CSUN communities, which brings me to my goals after graduation. Currently, I'm applying to doctoral programs in social psychology. My academic goal is to research identity development, academic achievement, and health outcomes, specifically among Latinx, Indigenous, and Black college students. My career goal is to complete my doctoral degree and return to the CSU system as a culturally educated social psychology professor. So when I transferred to CSUN, I really wanted to get involved on campus and form a community of like-minded peers. I heard about research assistant openings and decided to apply to their lab. I didn't know much about research. My initial idea of research was that it involved people in lab coats working with pipettes and just like writing articles. But when I joined the research lab, I got to learn about like the ins and outs of research, what's done in the lab, how it's done, and most importantly, why research is done. So the motivation and the goals behind conducting research. Because of my exposure in the lab, I found out about Build PODER, and my mentor encouraged me to apply. It's been a great experience ever since, and I'm truly grateful to be part of the Build PODER team. As part of the Build family, we get to conduct research with a CSUN faculty member. We take advanced courses in our field. We learn about applying to grad school, and we get to be part of a community of future scientists and innovators. The cohort model is also great because we're like treated as a group who get to learn together, and we grow together over the 2 or 3 years that we're in the program. And we also get to graduate together, which is really nice. For me, it feels like the Build team are like our coaches and like our cheerleaders, because we learn from them, but they also help us to get to the finish line. So they're cheering us on as we grow academically. In terms of how I got interested in my research topic, so while I was in community college, I struggled to find a major that could really like apply to many areas in my life and that I could really be happy with. I like to study topics that I can personally relate to. And so it was a bit difficult to find support as well, which made the process of changing my major and not finding the right fit even more daunting. So because I had to eventually leave community college, I decided to make psychology my major, since that was the first college class I ever took and I liked it. So ever since I took a developmental psychology course at my community college, I learned about the various identities that emerge and solidify during adolescence and young adulthood, and that really resonated with me. I became interested in studying how being in an academic space like college helps to emerge and solidify these identities, especially because college is a place where we spend about 4 to 6 years of our lives. It's a pretty big deal. And I'm interested in looking at academic identity, achievement, course curriculum, faculty student mentorship models, health variables, just to learn more and how we as researchers can better support college students. So for me, being a scholar means that you have a hunger for knowledge. A scholar is someone who actively engages in learning more about the world, the why, the how, what, when. A scholar is not only someone with published articles working in a lab with doctor in their title, it can also be us undergraduate students. A scholar is someone who tries to understand the world around them and seeks to solve problems, fill gaps in research, and generally wants to make a positive change. Programs like Build Poder have helped me to see myself as a scholar and future psychologist. We have an amazing team of faculty and staff that understand our backgrounds and celebrate even our smallest achievements. Even when they send out emails to us, they address us as scholars and they constantly remind us that we are scientists and we are scholars and we are academics. My mentor, Dr. Yolanda Vázquez Salgado, has also been a huge catalyst in my growth as a researcher. Both her and Build Poder helped me to see that even the research I conduct as an undergraduate adds to the greater movement of institutional change and academic success for students. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Diana. That was awesome. I want to hand it over to Isabel.
All right, thank you, Diana. And thank you, Melanie. So hello, everyone. My name is Isabel Muñoz Orozco. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I am a Latina and first-generation college student. I'm also currently a senior. I'm majoring in kinesiology with an emphasis in exercise science, and will hopefully also be graduating this spring. I'm also part of Build Poder. This is my second year, and I'm also part of the Laboratory for Evaluating Athletic and Aesthetic Performance, also known as the LEAP Lab, under the mentorship of Dr. Danielle Jarvis. And today I'll just be sharing a little bit of my story and how I got involved with research and my journey to becoming a scholar. So it wasn't until I got to college that I got interested in doing research, particularly because I had never heard or been exposed to research prior. So the idea of doing research had never really crossed my mind. And a little background, I had always been curious about how the human body moves and functions. And I remember taking anatomy and sports medicine classes in high school, which got me interested in kinesiology. Thus me majoring in kinesiology. And then in my freshman year of college, I remember taking an intro to kinesiology course. And that's when I first read about research and thought about it as a potential career. And in that same class, we were assigned to reach out and observe someone in the field we were interested in. And by this time, research had struck my interest, so I decided to observe a researcher. However, I wasn't sure where or how I would find a researcher. I didn't have any idea where they worked. So I asked my professor at the time, and she suggested that I contact faculty mentors in the department. So I did. I cold emailed various professors in the department of kinesiology. And I was fortunate enough to receive one response and was able to observe a biomechanics research lab. And this really opened my eyes to the possibilities of doing research. I was immediately fascinated by the methods of understanding human movement through three-dimensional motion capture and analysis, and I quickly got involved in the lab. And I began as an observer in the lab and slowly progressed in my research skills. And I think it was in the lab for about 1.5 years. And then my mentor encouraged me to apply to Build Poder. So in 2020, I was accepted into Build Poder's cohort 6. And being in this program really solidified my identity as a scholar, because before then, even though I was doing research, I didn't necessarily identify as a scholar or a researcher. Most of the time, I often felt like an imposter because most of my lab mates at the time were either upperclassmen or grad students. But I learned a lot because I was surrounded by them. And then at the time, I also thought like, oh, a scholar, you know, that must mean someone who has a master's or a PhD or someone who's an expert in their field. And I clearly did not like identify as an expert. I'm like, I can't call myself a scholar. But now I define it as a lifelong learner, and in whatever field that may be. And I think being in Build Poder and having the support I've had through my mentor and academic advisors and professors and my lab mates really has helped me evolve into that definition of a scholar. And I am so grateful for all of these opportunities, and I'm grateful for being able to share a little bit of my story. And before I conclude, so I steadily progressed from being an observer in the lab to leading a project and having the opportunity to do summer research through Build Poder, culminating in presenting and currently writing a research publication. So that's just a snippet of my story. Thank you all for listening.
Oh, thank you so much, Isabel. That was amazing. I want to pass it on to Jessica next so we can hear a little bit about you, Jessica.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Really cool just understanding a bit about everybody and how they got into the programs. It's really cool. So my name is Jessica Pacheco. I am a Build Poder student. I majored in cell and molecular biology. I also am a transfer student. I transferred from Los Angeles Valley College. I transferred back in the fall of 2020. So for me, just being online it kind of sucked because, you know, I was so excited to start at CSUN, being able to, you know, be in a university, but it was because of the pandemic that kind of backed it up. But I do want to talk a bit about how I got interested in research. When I was in community college, Build Poder actually funded a program at my school where it was a public health course. And so we learned about things how it affects people of color, how we learned a lot about the critical race theory and how it's really important to be able to understand that in school. And so what was interesting is that the last day of class, what they brought up was Build Poder students, and they presented their project. And when they presented it, I was just so impressed. I was like, wow, these people, they came up with a hypothesis, they came out with methods, and they conducted this research. And it was just, wow, I was like, this is so cool. Like, I want to try this. But at the time, you know, I had barely taken any of my biology and science classes, so I didn't feel prepared yet. But I told myself, I was like, you know, I'm gonna give myself time. But this was something that always was in the back of my head to really apply to this program. And so about 2 years later, I decided to apply because I just felt fascinated. I wanted to be able to find my passion, see what I was really interested in, because research to me just felt almost like you need to have a master's or a PhD, but I didn't really realize, wow, as an undergraduate, I can do all these things. And so it helped me become a scholar, this program. It helped me see myself as a scientist, because just coming in as a transfer student, you know, I was unsure of what I didn't really see myself that much as a scientist. So being able to be in this program really helped me, and it helped me understand being a scholar is okay. It's important to understand, to have knowledge, but it's also important to just sometimes be vulnerable and not be able to find resources and being able to have somebody to guide me. And that's what this program has really done for me. I was able to get mentoringship from the coordinators, and they really just make me feel like I'm capable of going to graduate school. I'm capable of working in really anything that I want to do. And I think that they've really always believed in me, and sometimes in times that I didn't believe in myself. This program has really shown me that it's important to simply just really believe in yourself and give yourself that credit that you are able to do those things. So that's just kind of a brief thing of how I got involved in research. And I just really can't thank enough of this program of how much it has really helped me.
Oh, thank you so much. I was like enthralled. I can't want to hear more. So I want to go ahead and pass this on to our expert panelists who will be asking questions. So I believe Mary Beth Walker has the first question for the three of you, and you can feel free to answer. You can each answer, or you can wait for the next question, whichever you're feeling. So go ahead, Mary Beth.
Well, thank you, Melanie. And I too am fascinated by your stories. I'm very impressed at the way you explain your evolving understanding of what research means and what it means to do research and be involved in it. And I really liked I think it was Isabel who talked about working on these teams that included freshmen and included grad students, and just the way you see your role evolving. And so I found that very impressive. I know that for each of you, that it wasn't always a smooth path to becoming the scholar that you are today. So I got a two-part question. First of all, could you tell us about an obstacle or obstacles that you faced in your journey to becoming the scholar that you are? And who in your life and who here at CSUN helped you stay strong when you were facing those obstacles? And so I'd like to ask Diana, would you please take the first answer?
Yeah, of course. So some obstacles that I overcame were, I would say, lack of mentorship at my community college, which made it difficult for me to feel part of a community and to feel supported. I actually didn't realize how important having a sense of community was to me until I didn't have one. So having community means that I get to be in a space where I'm with other peers who are also motivated to do well in school, and I can relate to and feel supported from, or faculty members that I can go to for help or advice. So when I transferred to CSUN and I joined Build, I definitely did have that sense of belonging, both in my lab and in Build. So even like small things like that, like just having like a group chat maybe, or getting to know the other students and faculty that you work with, like it really does make a difference. It makes it more enjoyable, a very more enjoyable experience. So yeah, I would say those are the obstacles.
And would you want to point to anyone that you would say helped you, in your life or here at CSUN that helped you overcome those?
Yeah, definitely Build Poder, I would say, and my faculty mentor, Dr. Yolanda Vázquez Salgado. I would say all the people in my lab, we call ourselves like a lab family, and I feel like I'm part of two families: the Build family, the bigger Build family, and then my smaller lab family, and it's great. Yeah, I would say CSUN, Build Poder, my faculty mentor. My faith has also been a huge motivator in my college journey, and some psychology faculty members who have helped me with my professional development skills and who are also letter writers for the graduate applications that I'll be submitting soon. So yeah.
Keep those applications going, everyone. Let me just put in a push for that. Thank you very much. So Isabel, can I turn to you? I really like that you said that you first started understanding research in a freshman class, which I think is really great. So same question though, talk about obstacles and who maybe helped you overcome those.
All right. So I mean, there's always going to be challenges in life, right? But if I had, told you my biggest obstacles, I don't think they're necessarily academic. For me, they were like financial insecurity, food insecurity, and anxiety that came in with like transferring. I'm a first-gen student, so my family, like, they didn't want me to go to college far away. They're like, stay home, So the whole transition, that was hard. And then like I couldn't depend on my parents financially, so You know, sometimes it was tough, but, you know, I know there's certainly resources on campus, like the CSUN food pantry, that was really helpful. When I needed to learn how to manage anxiety, I went to the counseling center because they have courses on anxiety and stuff. And I had heard about those resources, I think was in U100. So my professor for U100 at the time, like that was my freshman year, I just, you know, she was my first resource. I'm like, hey, you know, where can I go? So for those challenges, like, you know, there's definitely resources on campus, and I'm grateful for those. In terms of finances, I was able to apply to scholarships thanks to my mentor, Dr. Jarvis. And then the CARES Act was one. I know during the pandemic, there was another grant. So those were always helpful. And then Build Poder. So before I was in Build Poder, I think I had 2 jobs. And then after Build Poder, they provide a stipend. So I could fully concentrate on research and get a stipend that way. So I didn't really have to worry about the finances there. So Build Poder, I'm so grateful for. Yeah, so I think those were my biggest challenges.
And so do you want to give a shout out? I like it that you mentioned Dr. Jarvis, but is there anyone else that's being a big help?
I think there's so many names, you know, I can say the same like Diana, like my lab mates, we're a little family, Build Poder, like everyone in our cohort. But this would be really long. I would keep you guys here.
Oh, that's great. So Jessica, I'm going to turn to you, and I know that one challenge you might name would be the lack of being able to get your hands on experience in the lab, right, in the fall of 20. So
That was a huge obstacle. Yeah, for me, that was challenging just to be able to just get that experience. You know, it was just a lot of literature review, which is important to like read it and better understand my project, but not having to do that hands-on stuff. That was a big, really challenging obstacle. I think for me was simply transportation. Just getting to school was like a hard thing. You know, I'm really grateful for Build Poder, like Isabel mentioned, being able to just do research and have that stipend I was able to get a little car for myself to be able to go to school. So that was definitely a challenge for me. But I think I really just thank my mentors that I had in community college. Like, I think they were the ones that really implemented into me. You know, you can do research when you go to CSUN, you know, you are capable of doing those things. I did research at Los Angeles Valley College first, but it was in partnership with Build Poder. So having just those community college professors really were able to help guide me and help me make decisions on what I want to do for research at CSUN. And just also my mentor, Dr. Med, she is wonderful. She has really shown me things that sometimes I didn't see it myself. You know, she has made me feel more confident in my lab skills, even though I didn't have that chance to do it in the fall. She really has pushed me and shown me now in this semester that I'm able to, you know, just because you're a bit behind in that, it doesn't mean that you're not, you know, capable of going more ahead and doing more of those things. So definitely her, she has helped me so much in those obstacles that I faced.
no, I'm happy to hear about that. That mentorship's important. Dr. Watkins, over to you.
Well, thank you, Provost Walker, and to our students. I know your faculty mentors must just be beaming with all of the praise that you've shared concerning your experience here at Cal State Northridge and Build Poder, a program that has all of our respect and admiration. And Diane, I will say that Yolanda Vasquez Salgado is a favorite of mine as well. What a wonderful student, faculty member now who's come back to Cal State Northridge, having been an undergraduate here at our institution. You know, there's so many things that you said that really have landed with me. Number one, you helped us understand that students don't exist as researchers and scholars absent a context. You're fundamentally a student, and there are other things that you need in order to be able to negotiate and navigate the experience of college going here. Those of us in student affairs are really happy to be there with you to support some of those particular kinds of needs. But the other thing that you said is that what people say to students, particularly their faculty, really does matter. And each of you has talked about having some wonderment about whether or not you are a scholar or researcher, et cetera. But you have embraced that reality because you've been told that you are. And so it's a message back to all of us as academic leaders and folk outside of the classroom to be thoughtful about the ways in which we speak to our students and about their possibilities and the vision ahead for them. So I want to just kind of talk to you about how you have managed to connect with your faculty and staff during this virtual experience. All of us have really struggled to find meaningful connections to our students. This two-dimensional space is really probably not our ideal, but you found ways to make it work. Why don't you each take a turn to share with us, maybe Isabel, we'll start with you. How have you made connections work for you with your instructors and with your other professional staff here during this virtual experience?
I will say it's been a little difficult compared to pre-COVID, right?
Yeah.
But I think in terms of like, I had met my mentor before COVID, so that was easy. Just Zoom meetings or email was easy. With professors, I think was a little harder. Definitely, I would try to go to office hours or just shoot them an email to schedule a Zoom meeting and connect that way, or stay after class if they were available. But I think those were the main.
Those are the main ones for you. And Diana, could you share with us maybe some recommendations to the faculty who are here as to ways in which they can be thinking about connecting with students while we continue to make it through this, what seems like a forever journey, but we're going to get to the end of this. But how can we better connect with you?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I would say communicating with students is a huge help, whether through Canvas or Zoom or even emails. Just keeping up with students and letting us know that there's another human being on the other end definitely helps to make it makes the class feel a little bit more engaged, maybe. Another piece of advice would be to just maintain structure in the course. So maybe just having a thorough syllabus and marking the due dates on Canvas, like small details like that go a long way. Just like general class structure and organization so that there's less stress about what to expect throughout the semester. You know, the students will know like what will we do each week or like what to expect each week. And lastly, I would say maybe catering to various learning methods can be extremely beneficial to students. So maybe having not only lecture slides, but also link to YouTube videos where students can learn if they're more like visual or audio learners. And maybe like pre-recorded lectures or things like that so that students can later reference before studying for an exam, for example. And having, like Isabel said, having virtual office hours so that students can come in and communicate with the professor, that also helps out a lot.
Thank you so much. You know, and we're talking about living in a virtual environment. I'm wondering, Jessica, if there's some things that we have experienced during this virtual journey that you think perhaps we ought to keep as we come back in person?
Yeah, just actually a quick note on like the previous question you had asked, Anna. I think one thing that I would like to mention, I really appreciated when my teachers, it was the first day, usually it's syllabus day, you know, I really liked when they asked us, one of my professors asked me, what do you guys want to do after this class? What do you want to accomplish after this class? What is your end goal? Do you want to go to graduate school, medical school? And it just felt like it broke the ice because sometimes we just take a class, you know, get the grade, this and that, but it just breaks the ice and just gives us an understanding like, yeah, you know, you're able to connect not only with the professor, but with your peers. Yeah, with your peers and build a relationship and being able to say, hey, you know, there's another student that I didn't know, but they're also interested in dentistry or also interested in research. Let me connect with them. Let me get involved with them. So I think that it would be maybe a really good thing for professors to do just the first day of class, you know, a 10-minute kind of icebreaker. That was something I really appreciated.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, of course. I think something to implement is definitely as we get back to the in-person kind of thing is just learning to adjust with us as students, because just as we started to adjust going on virtual, we kind of have to readjust our brains and say, okay, now we're
Yes.
in person. I can't wake up like 5 minutes before and just get on Zoom. I have to, get ready to go
Yeah.
to campus and stuff. So I think just being really understanding that it is going to be a bit challenging for us, especially, we're so used to just being on a computer by ourselves, but
Yeah.
now we're going to be in that classroom again next to other students, being able to develop those relationships, those social skills. So I think that's just something just to be really understanding with each other in those aspects.
Great recommendations. Thank you all. You're fantastic. Back to you, Dr. Bocanegra.
Okay, I think Mary Beth, you have the next set of questions if you want to.
I do have a
That
question.
was great, though. I feel like we're all taking notes,
Right.
writing furiously.
Well, this next one is really important because as we do come back, many, many more classes across every college and department are in person next semester. And can you give us some tips about what could we do to make our classrooms more student friendly and our student services more friendly? So looking forward to next spring, tell us what we can do to make that experience friendlier and better. And so could I ask, Isabel, would you tackle that?
Let me try. I think, precaution, obviously, like if the students feel safe, then we're more willing to return to campus. I think there's still a bit of fear with COVID. I mean, I'm excited to go back because I miss, human interaction, but, depending on the student, they might not feel the same way. So being open as a professor, to deal with both situations and let the students know, like, these are the plans, you're gonna walk in, make sure you're wearing a mask, just the basic protocols, just so it's clearly communicated. And yeah, just be welcoming, right? Yeah, just be open to, even though we're in person, I'd say if you can still have virtual office hours, it's definitely a lot more flexible for some students, especially with classes. Like sometimes we have to run 15-minute or walk 15 minutes to our next class. So if you have virtual office hours as an option, that might be a little better for students too. So those are some of my suggestions.
Those are good. Those are good. Thank you. Jessica, do you want to add to that?
Sure. Yeah. I think kind of like what I had mentioned, just being, understanding with students that they're kind of getting readjusted to this new thing. And like Isabel mentioned, make sure maybe it's, there's social distancing if possible, and making sure people wear masks so that everybody feels safe and comfortable. And, maybe having I because since I haven't been at CSUN, I would think like the hours of, financial aid and all these offices maybe opened at the same times. Maybe I'm assuming it's like an 8 to 5 or something, so that people, people are starting to get back to work. So they might not be able to go in the morning and stuff. So just maybe extending those hours if possible. I think that might be like a good thing
to give everybody an opportunity to get over to. Yes. Okay. Thank you. And Diana, do you have anything else to add to that?
Yeah, I agree with everything that Isabel and Jessica have said. Definitely, because we've been learning virtually on Zoom for almost 2 years now, we definitely have to get used to a new learning environment and being in person. So maybe if like professors can maybe do like a doodle poll at the beginning of the semester, kind of see like what kind of pace they can go at and kind of tailor the material that way so that it isn't too fast, it isn't too slow. Like the students feel comfortable with the style of like learning the material and also the pace of it. But yeah, and just having more opportunities to engage on campus would be great too. So maybe like open research labs, department specific campus events, or like active clubs, just so that they can get more involved on campus.
Okay, that's good. And what I heard you all say was that recognize that this is another big shift, because it's been so long that we've been virtual. And so Jessica, did you want to add something to that?
Yeah, I just would like to add, maybe have like workshops, how to kind of rewire yourself back to that kind of thing, how to get back into that. Okay, now you're in person. I think that would be like I would attend. I'd be like, yeah, I want to figure that out. I think that would be a really good thing to do.
No, very good suggestion. Dr. Watkins, back to you.
I think our final question, and Jessica will let you get started. So you've all received encouragement in some way in your journey here. What advice would you give to students who perhaps have not encountered that encouraging word along the way, but who aspire to think about being in research and perceiving of themselves as scholars? What would you tell those students?
Yeah, I think I would just tell them, believe in yourself and just try it. I think that's a big thing, is just to try something, because in the end, you don't know if you're going to like it. You don't know if you're going to love it, and it changes your career. It shifts you. At first, I didn't know if I was going to really like research, but then being in this program, I learned I really do like it. And it's really given me the opportunity. Like without this program, I was able to do a research program in Philadelphia over the summer in person. And I feel like I would have never had that opportunity had I never even given myself that chance. Like, yeah, I can do science. Yeah, I can do this even during a pandemic, So I think it's just giving yourself that boost that you're capable of doing those things. That would be like a type of advice I would love.
That's
students.
great advice. Diana, how about you?
Yeah, I love that question. So I would say just how Jessica said, put yourself out there. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Great scholars are those who use their failures to fuel their journey to success. And if you're going into research and it seems really intimidating, at least just give it a try, because you could end up loving it. And you won't live with the what ifs. So some ways you can do that is just like talking to professors to see which research labs are open and active, or just like asking around, even sending like one email or just putting in a little bit of effort really goes a long way. And maybe applying to programs like Build Aid or URISE. Those are great places to find interesting research projects and building community with peers and getting to know faculty. And I would say you don't have to have a definite research interest or project. It can be broad, because you'll develop that along the way. So yeah, I definitely didn't have a specific research interest when I first started, but that it grew and it like shaped, and now I do. But I would say that that wouldn't happen if I hadn't tried out research at first. So I would just say it's definitely worth a try.
I think we got 3 coaches on here. How about you, Isabel?
I can only echo what's been said, but yeah, definitely, like, don't be afraid to try it out. Like, you never know until you try, right? If you have the slightest interest or the slightest curiosity, I say like reach out to a professor that's conducting research you're interested in, or if you think it sounds cool, just go see what they do, You don't have to necessarily get involved. Just you can ask to observe the lab and just see how it's done. And then if you're truly interested, I'd say get involved and commit. And yeah, and then you'll go from there.
Wonderful. Thank you all. Great advice.
Thank you all. It was so wonderful to hear about your path to scholarship and really what that's meant to you. And so I just want to applaud you all for sharing such wonderful insights with all of us. And really appreciate and cannot wait to welcome you back as our colleagues, as I mentioned earlier. So thank you all. I want to transition to our second group of students. We were originally hoping to show you videos of their research presentations today, but instead we wanted to just focus on the wonderful conversations that we've been having and kind of really piggyback on some of the things that we've learned so far. So in the spring of 2021, way back when, I was invited by the Africana Studies Department to attend the Afrocentric Research Conference. I was totally blown away by the scholarship that I saw there and the work that students were doing and just the empowerment that was happening in that space. And so the goal of the conference was to foster scholarship among student researchers and provide a venue to share their experiences and research that focuses on issues related to the African American community. This year's conference theme, or this past year's conference theme, was Black Lives Matter, Addressing It All. And that was developed by the student conference committee. And so 2 students that particularly stood out are here today with us and agreed to chat with us a little bit. The first is Naeem Muhammad. His research focused on the lasting impact that chattel slavery has on the African American community's ability to access healthy food options. So history really showing up today and having such a huge impact on that. The second presenter was Tracy Porter, and her research focused on the importance of accessing Black mental health counselors and professionals who understand racism in order for the African American community to really leverage mental health care. And I was just totally blown away by their presentations. And I'm so excited to welcome them here today to quickly introduce themselves. And then we'll get started with our panel questions for them as well. So we can start with Tracy. Tracy, you there?
It helps to unmute before you start to talk. 2 years, y'all, almost 2 years, and I still forget to unmute.
We all do it.
3. It's like, so hi, my name is Tracy Porter. I am a Africana Studies major at CSUN. I am a transfer student as well. Now, I loved how my other colleagues were saying which school they transferred in from. And I could tell you that, but I've been to so many over this has been a 4-decade journey, y'all, for me to get my bachelor's degree. So when people say, well, where did you transfer? What JC did you transfer from in the LA Community College District? I said, it'll just be easier for me to tell you which 2 I did not go to. And that would be Harbor and East Los Angeles, because those are the only 2 that I did not go to in my journey. I graduated from high school, Chatsworth High School, in 1984, and I was accepted to San Francisco State University. And unbeknownst to me, I was going to the school that was the center, the epicenter of the Black Studies movement. And I had no idea because I had no connection to anyone on campus. I had no idea of the resources that were available to me as a first-generation college student. And so as a result, I did not do well. I wound up dropping out of school, and all because I had nobody to show me what to do. And over the course of the last, like I said, 4 decades, it's been that kind of a journey for me. A lot of it was for me, I know I'm brilliant. Brilliance is, that's a family thing, that's hereditary. But to know it and to know it, when you have no one to tell you this, when the people the women in your family, the only thing they want you to do is survive. It's about survival and not thriving, because they never were taught how to dream or anything like that. So you're going in this life as a Black woman, not knowing what you're capable of, and not having people reinforcing that knowledge. And so, like I said, so I've been in and out of college, and a lot of it, one of my main reasons of I never felt that I belonged. When I was in 11th grade, I had a white teacher tell me, now I was in honors classes, I was in AE classes and all that, but in 11th grade, I had a white teacher, white man, tell me that I did not belong, that I was taking up somebody else's space. And so as a result, I internalized that for 40 years. 40 years of me thinking that I was less than, 40 years of me not claiming my power and not claiming my destiny because one person told me that I was less than. But because also I had no other people to show. I didn't have a Michelle Obama on TV when I was growing up. I didn't have I had Shirley Chisholm, but didn't know who she was when I was growing up. Barbara Jordan, or all these other amazing Black women that I had they were not part of my purview. So if I have a white teacher telling me that I'm less than, I'm going to believe it because I have no other examples other than what I'm seeing on TV. And I'm not seeing anything that shows that a dark-skinned little girl can be amazing, because I'm still seeing that I'm less than. And so then when I go to school and I don't think, because I'm like, oh my God, I can't do research. I can't do this because I don't know how to do it. And because I don't know how, and you ask your teachers how to do this, they're looking at you as though, well, you're in college, you should know how to do this. But why? Why should I know how to do these things? Because I wasn't taught in high school. I wasn't taught in junior college. I wasn't taught when I went to San Francisco State. The assumption that students are walking into school knowing how to do stuff, that's so 20th century, y'all. That is just beyond the pale, because everybody doesn't, just because I came in as a senior when I transferred to CSUN last year, doesn't mean I know how to do a lot of things. It doesn't mean that I'm not capable of doing it. Once you show me how to do it, once I get the mentorship and the people to guide me, I'm cool, I'm golden. But when you make a student feel as though they're less than because they're not at a certain level, y'all got professors have to do better. They definitely have to do better, because it's not fair and it's not right. Everybody, there has to be a different way to teach people. There has to be you have to come from different levels. You can't get stuck in the this hegemonic pedagogy of the yesteryear. It's not working for all of us. Everybody has a different way to learn. And if it took me 40 years to finally figure that out, it's not right. No one should ever feel less than. No one should be made to feel as though they can't do something. And the only thing they need is help. So, and then on the top of the fact that my research, like Dr. B was saying, was about mental health in the Black community and the lack of Black mental health professionals. Now, I chose that subject because of my own issues with mental health. And I went undiagnosed for over 20 years, because when Black people go to see, they finally get the nerve to go. And then you got to go through all the mechanisms like, well, why are you depressed? Or, well, just do with this and do with that. But the thing is, when I'm talking to a white woman or a white man about my issues, they want to help, but they have to deal with their own biases about Black people, about Black women. Because when I walk in the room, I'm already judged. I haven't opened my mouth. The only thing they see when people see me is a Black woman. They see a single parent. Oh, she's a stereotype. Oh, she grew up in the hood, so this is the way she should be. Oh, she's dealt with the criminal injustice system. Well, this is all that she should be. But that's not who I am. And unfortunately, when I took psych classes and stuff like that, none of these things talked to me. It was very Eurocentric, it was very male, it was very white. Had nothing to do with my experiences as a Black woman or as a Black person. So when I decided to go back to school, I'm like, well, I can't do this. So I decided to become an Africana Studies major because it's me. It's about who I am. And it answered a lot of questions as to why I am the way I am now. So then I decided I'm going to become a therapist because I want to be a therapist. I want to help people. But then again, what I'm learning in psych classes isn't helping me. So when I decided to do the research behind why is this not working? Why is this working for some people, but not for me? That's when I decided that I have to change the research. I have to fill the gaps in the research about why Black people aren't going to therapy. And even if they decide to go to therapy, do they have access to therapy? Is it affordable? Or is the person, even if they can't find a Black therapist, is the person that is doing the therapy, are they culturally competent? Did they do something, a weekend seminar about diversity and inclusivity and equity? These classes need to be part of psychology. These classes it has to be more than a semester. This should be required. It should be students in psych classes and social work who are the majority white and are going back into my community unprepared and looking at me and my people through a lens of deficiency. And that is not so. So that is why I decided to do my research, because there needs to fill in that gap, because it needs to be about me and my folk. And if you say nothing else about me, I love my people and my people need help. So that's what I do, why I'm doing.
Thank you, Tracy. Oh, you share so passionately. I just want to thank you for being so open today with our group. And I wanted to also give some space and time to Naeem. Naeem, are you here?
I am in the house.
Naeem, hello.
Hello, everybody. Hi, my name is Naeem Mohammed. I'm a 5th-year senior majoring in African Studies. My research is about food deserts in the Black community. And when I stumbled upon my research, it was like astounding, because I saw it, because my survey was specifically to Black people, like African-American food deserts, and survey was for Black people only. And it was astounding. One question was, it was, how would you define a food desert? And some people put like cheesecake, pie, anything sweet, or like, I don't know what that is. So I'm like, it's astounding, because like the fact we don't know what it is, and like, see, if you're ignorant of something, 9 times out of 10, you're a victim to it. And that becomes a problem for us, that we don't know that these foods, about our genetically modified food organisms, and all these fast food places. And for those who are not clear on what a food desert is, basically places that have limited or no healthy food options or access. And I'm from Inglewood, California. I grew up on Food for Less. I didn't even know that was a food desert. And for me to go through that, I'm thinking like, it's second nature. I didn't know what supermarket was. Like, I see our TV supermarket. I was like, huh? I have Food for Less. Like anyone who has Food for Less, they understand. Like, it doesn't have like a lot of options, or if it is, it's genetically modified or like that. But the reason I chose this topic, well, in addition to that, the reason I chose this topic is because the number one killer of Black people is heart disease, as any kind of heart disease. But people, and like, it's crazy how Black people say, they always say, oh, diabetes or any food related health issues, it runs in the family. I mean, it can, obviously, of course, the exception to the rules, but 9 times out of 10, it's your diet. Like all that pork, all them fried foods, we call it soul food, because there's a whole history behind that, but I'll briefly get into it. So basically, our ancestors, they were given food scraps, like they were given, pig intestine, chitlin, we call chitlin nowadays, and a whole lot of other scraps, and like we put together, like that's where gumbo originated, that's where jambalaya originated from, and even collard greens, they came from the weeds, they picked from the ground, and they had our survival. So that's why it's called soul food, because it's food it had to survive. People say it's good for your soul, but that's not the case. It's called soul food because that's the only food ancestors had to live on, and that shouldn't be carried on. They ate it because they had to. If they had other options, like they had fruits, vegetables, and anything with a healthy diet, they would happily took that. But that's all. It was all or nothing, which is I'm trying to lose my train of thought. But, oh yeah, but oftentimes we mistake that for our culture. Like we like I was watching, I believe I was watching episode of the Boondocks, and anyone who watch Boondocks, you know, Granddad, Huey, Righty, all the characters. But anyways, there's an episode when Granddad opened up the restaurant and he told Huey that the food is our culture. And Huey said the culture destructed then, because anything that kills us, anything that's detrimental to our health should not be a thing. If it's not beneficial, don't make it official.
Mhm.
So that's why I thought this really hit home too, because I also had a lot of people. I know somebody personally who passed away a couple years ago because had really bad health. He was hospitalized for like almost a year, and then he passed away
Mm.
due to bad food choices. And like I'm sure if he knew what he was eating with detriment to his health, he would change his diet. He wouldn't have done that. So this topic really hit home for me, because we got to change the diet, we got to live, we got to get rid of the soul food, get rid of the swine, get rid of the fried food, get rid of all this food, and don't make it in like we got to reevaluate, we got to right, we got to get rid of all the culture, beginning with food.
Well, thank you so much, Naeem and Tracy, for sharing your stories and how that really connected with all of you. I want to ask Mary Beth Walker if you have questions for the panel, for Naeem and Tracy. I just applaud you for being so open with the group and letting us know how impactful the research was to, everything that you've been doing. So thank you so much for sharing. Mary Beth?
Let me agree with what Melanie just said. Thank you both. Tracy, I'm so glad you stuck it out, right? I mean, over that period of time, it's incredibly important and an incredibly important message to share. And so I think you've answered this question, but I'm going to ask you first, the research topics that you've chosen, how would you relate that to your success here at CSUN? Do the topics matter to your success?
The topic has helped me realize that it wasn't all my fault. It made me real, and if I start tearing up, I'm sorry. Now I'm not apologizing, because I do get passionate, but because I get angry. I become very angry about the 40 years that I lost because of being not knowing that I had mental health issues, not knowing that I was amazing because of my skin and not less than because of my skin. It pisses me off, because the trajectory of my life would have been different had I known more about who I am and where I came from. I didn't learn anything about my Blackness until I was in my 40s, when I went to LA Valley College.
Mm-hmm.
And I took my first Black Studies class. And I understood why there was this festering anger inside of me that I didn't have a name for. Mm-hmm. Why there was this thing saying, in all these years thinking that I was to blame, that I was less than, that I didn't belong, that I wasn't worthy. And so when I started doing this research and when I decided to go back to college, that I want to make sure what I'm learning is about me. It's about my people, because I've spent, like I said, 40 years learning about dead white folks, and I don't really care about dead white people, because these dead white people pretty much probably didn't care about anybody that looked like me when they were writing and doing what their research and all that. Don't care, because it does not speak to me. It does nothing for me. So when I did this research, I found my power. I found my destiny. I found out that I am wonderfully made. I am amazing. I am brilliant. But then there's always there's still that little voice in my head saying, yeah, not so much. So there's that constant battle of knowing what you know, but having to have the reinforcement, because you're talking 55 years of socialization and brainwashing. That takes a lot of it doesn't just go away. It takes time, it takes patience, it takes work, because there's
Right.
many times that I will lay down and not get back up, but then I think about my professors in Africana studies who will come to my house and snatch me out of bed if necessary. And to know that there are these people that love and care about me and want nothing more for me than to be the amazing person that I know I can be, that is why I did my research, and that is what I learned from my research.
Now, thank you. I think the research found you, and now think about it. Now you're carrying that forward. You're carrying that research forward. That's hugely important. Naima, I want to turn to you, but I'll point out that the issue and the problem of food deserts is a really serious issue in the U.S. So I appreciate what you said, but the question is, how did the research topics that you chose, how has that had an impact on your success here?
It had a significant impact on my success personally, because like I said, and at the beginning, it was like astounding how many Black people didn't even know what as food as it was. Like to me, that hurt me to the core. So that showed me that I gotta go harder. I can't give up. Failure is not an option. I can't fold. At this point, I'm being selfish. I'm turning my back on my people. I'm looking at my own interests, my own benefit, my own, which I can't do. So it motivated me to go harder and make sure that my people are doing well. And since then, I've got involved in a program, and it's not a program, but an organization that encourages farming and growing organic food and everything. And the lady was proud that I was so passionate about that too, because she wanted people. She couldn't afford to hire anybody, but I'm like, it's not about the money to me. It's about having our people. Our people are dying at a disproportionate rate, really high. Like since 1985, the leading killer of Black people has been heart disease, and it's based on our poor food choices and a lack of healthy food options. So I'll say in that sense, it motivated me.
Thank you. I'm going to ask Dr. Watkins if he has a question.
Yes, I'm going to start with Tracy. And like your son said, you go, Mom. You are brilliant. You are amazing. And thanks for energizing us. And we can feel from both you and Naeem just the passion that has emerged through the scholarship that you have pursued. It causes me to ask the question, what role should the university play in helping students find spaces and issues and areas that are authentically of interest to them that they might want to pursue in the form of research? You were courageous and you found these areas of study. Is there a role for the university to help open up that space for its students?
Oh my God, most definitely. I mean, I was listening to my colleagues talking about Bill Poudare, and I'm like, okay, so that's an amazing program.
Yeah.
Where is the Bill Poudare for Africana Studies students? Where is the Bill Poudare for Asian students and queer studies students? And so these kind of programs need to be programs like this for everyone. And the fact that I am proud to even think that just to know that there's a program like that and see these amazing women, my Latinx sisters, props to y'all, especially I think Isabel, you started early, and I'm like, man, I didn't have these opportunities because so many people are capable of so much more than people give them credit for. And it only takes that one teacher or that one program to say, for me, it was Dr. Gamage. When I took Africana Studies 498 last spring, I almost passed out when I looked at the syllabus. I said, what, 21 pages? What? Research who? The last time I did research, I had to physically go to the library and get the card, the catalog and all that.
Yeah.
I did not have the skills necessary to do this, but Dr. Gamage is like, I got you. You got this. And she guided me along the way. Now, the only thing is that was just one class, one semester. This is something, research is muscle memory, y'all. You can't just send folks to the gym the first time and point them to the machines and think they're gonna know what they're doing. It takes somebody guiding them, and then it takes constant practice. So I am truly grateful for 498, but there needs to be constant classes like this, or like the Bill Podair program, to keep us, to help us build our skills. Because you can't expect just one class to get us through into grad school and whatnot and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
That's very rich. Thank you. Naeem, would you like to share there? What's the role of the university in opening up these spaces and avenues for research?
Well, my research particularly, I think there could be a center or like space in USU that can have like weekly discussion on health and the impact of living food. Like we do both negative and positive. Like let's say for example, first thing about hot Cheetos, like saying that the impact has on your body. Like for example, like you see it make your tongue red. Imagine what's doing to your insides.
Yeah. So
like something like that, and also we can recommend like a fruit, vegetable, or some kind, or any food that's inexpensive, that's affordable, and we recommend eating that a day, and then I talk about the benefits. So I think that would be good. But hopefully we can get a food insecurity center on campus. That'd be essential.
Yes, we're working on it. We're working on it. Thank you. Mary Beth?
Yeah, I do have another question, and Tracy, I completely agree with the props you gave to Dr. Gamage. She is amazing. But I wondered if you wanted to shout out any other, an advisor or a staff member or another faculty member, people that really helped you along.
I have, like my other colleagues, this the list, but since I've been at CSUN, I have to say, because I believe, you know, I transferred in fall of last year. I transferred, like I said, 40 years, y'all. So I transferred in as a senior. That's just how many units I had. But when I took my very first class was summer 2020 with Dr. Sheba Lowe, Africana Studies 300. And I was freaked out because computer and me, not so much. It's like a car. It's like, what do you know about cars? I put gas in it and I drive it, and don't bother me about any other stuff. And computers, I turn it on, I watch Netflix, and maybe I'll go on Google and ask some stupid thing about something I heard about on Jeopardy. It wasn't a tool. And so because of Dr. Lowe, she helped me. I did projects, I did a film, I did poetry. There were things she tapped into me I had no idea that I was capable of. And then I had Dr. Sanford, and then I had Dr. Glocky, and Dr. Gamage, and Professor Ganther, all these amazing, and Dr. Gant Britton, all these amazing Black people, except for Dr. Glocky, you know, she's not Black, but she's down with the cause. All these amazing people that knew what I needed and knew that I didn't know what I needed, but I just needed somebody to boost me up. So let me shout out to the entire Africana Studies Department at California State University, Northridge. But it's just, when you have a group of people who look like you, who know your struggle, who knows what it's like to be a Black person and be looked over, no matter how much you contribute to the conversation, and you say something and what you said got ignored, but when the white guy or the white girl said this exact same thing, they get props and you don't. Nah, see, that's representation matters. And when you have these people who understand how racism and white supremacy has just laid waste to my folks or BIPOC people, period. And you don't have to understand. You don't have to explain to them because they know. And they're doing everything that they can to not get even, but to equity. I don't want equality, baby. I want equity. Two different things. So to my non-BIPOC professors and administrators, y'all need to listen. Y'all need to be aware. And when stuff happens, don't join a book club and read about white fragility and how to be an anti-racist. What are y'all doing to make this change and make this university and then this world the way it needs to be?
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, that's great. Very well said. Naeem, I'm going to ask you the same question. Do you want to give can you name someone or more people that really gave you a boost when you needed one?
I say Dr. Gamage is a big one. Dr. Gam, like, man, Dr. Gamage, like if you in a room with her, like she lights up a room, like she makes she gives
Naeem, we're losing the audio a bit.
this energy, like you feel good. I'm trying to find it. Almost like talking to your mom, definitely a big one. Professor scaring me now. I see it unstable. All right, so basically, I was basically saying like Dr. Gamage is a big one. She make you feel comfortable to talk to her. You can tell her anything and feel safe.
Yeah.
I say emphatically, I feel safe around Dr. Gamage. Another one I connected with was Professor Simmons. He's a part-time professor in African Studies. I'm really connected with him inside school, outside of school. He introduced me to a lot of Black Panthers, and a lot of the revolutionaries who are still active in LA. And he's my counselor. Abram Milton. I also connected with him, and that's people who I hold close. But yes.
Well, it's an impressive group. Dr. Watkins, I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, thank you. So we're excited to be welcoming our students back this coming spring. When you think about coming back to campus and more in-person classes, or however you may end up doing your spring term, Naeem, I'm going to start with you. What are some of the ways in which we can prepare for you and ensure that you have a positive and productive experience this coming spring?
That's a good question. I'll think about that. Can you come back to me, please?
Okay. All right. Tracy, tell us.
Well, when 2020 started, I was terrified about Canvas and online learning. And I'm like, what is Canvas? Why is this important? And why is it not accepting my papers when I know I turned it in? And what do you mean my teacher did not get my papers? But that part. But I have now grown. I feel like what's his name from My Fair Lady. I've grown accustomed to being on Zoom and doing Canvas. And I actually now prefer it because I didn't mention, but I'm a small business owner. I am a taxi cab driver. I have been driving cab for 14 years in Los Angeles.
Wow.
And it's been very flexible. And what I've learned, and because my classes Monday through Thursday end at 3:15, but I take special needs kids to and from school, and I have to be there at 3 o'clock. But because now everything is online, I sit in my cab, do my classes, and then when it's time for me to pull into the parking lot to pick up the kids, I'm golden. But now with us being back on campus, I'm like, I had to redo and rethink what classes I could take. So there's a couple of classes that I wanted to take, but I can't because they get out at 3:15. So I wish there was the, we were easing, there was this mad rush not for us to go back on campus, other than the fact that if we go back to campus, then that means I get a real graduation, y'all, because I graduated in May.
Come on
And I
now.
don't want virtual. I want balloons. I want sky
I
riders.
hear
I
you.
want a band, all that stuff. I don't want a virtual. So that's the only thing I'm looking forward to about going back to campus. But I wish there was like, some of the professors could have, I don't know, like not some hybrid or something to work it out, because there's a lot of students that have moved away.
Yeah.
And they are still they're in other cities, other states, and they can't afford to live in LA or, because it's high as all get out. And so what about them? How are they going to get to school? How are they, so there needs to be some kind of a balance with this rush to get us back on campus. But you guys got to take into consideration, everybody can't afford to rush back here in the spring and come back to school when it was problematic before COVID, and it's even worse
Right.
now.
Yeah. It's very helpful. Thank you. Thank you.
I can hear you now.
Work on graduation too, commencement for you. Naeem?
Yes, sir. Okay, a few things. Well, like Tracy said, also I agree with her with hybrid classes, because some people aren't don't have the transportation to get to campus as frequently as they like, because they don't have a car, maybe they do live out of state, for whatever reason, or if anything comes up, or because we're still in the middle of the pandemic, so people still get COVID, people relatives with COVID and everything. So I think for those cases, the hybrid classes will be very much essential. Another thing I would say is for unvaccinated students to still be able to be on campus, but how do we get tested in? Because a lot of people don't get vaccinated for personal, political, or religious reasons. Like myself, I have religious and political reason why I'm unvaccinated, but that should not affect my learning. I shouldn't be able not to go to school, even though I'm a paying tuition student like everyone else, because of my political, my religious reasons that I'm not getting vaccinated. So they shouldn't be, and especially if we're planning to be in person all the way full, I should not be not allowed on campus because of that. So I think it's more support from unvaccinated students and keep the requirement of what's it called, the weekly testing.
Yeah, we'll continue to keep that resource for testing going into the spring.
Things before I forget. This one's a little personal, but I'm serious. And it's all around. It's moving forward. It's not just next semester. Is there a way that we could, if we fail a class or we're unsatisfied with the grade we got in the previous class, fail, not unsatisfied. If we fail a class, could we not have to wait a certain time to get the class, because that may be an essential class that we need when we failed it? Like I don't know if anyone shares the same problem. Like I failed one class and they just had to wait a whole month for the next class. By the time the class was available, it was full, so I couldn't take it. So could we treat students who failed the class as if they take it the first time? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, so you're talking about, I think, the practice of not having priority registration when you haven't passed the class, that you have to take it secondarily after others.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I appreciate that question, Naeem, and we'll talk to the Office of Undergraduate Studies and see what the story is on that. So appreciate you bringing that up.
Thank you both, Provost Walker or Melanie.
Yeah, well, I just want to wrap this up and just thank these panelists for sharing. All of our panelists today were amazing, shared some really valuable insights, very personal stories. And I think that's really key, is to really understand that our students are not just, you know, in our classrooms focusing on just class. There's all of these other things going on, but they have goals, they're motivated, they're passionate, and they're just waiting for us to help them unlock all of the potential that they have. It's just so inspiring to hear people connecting with their research topics and using that to really fuel their academic success. And that's something that we want to continue to support here. And like, you know, Tracy was challenging us to do, hey, we need to do this more. We need to expand this out. Everyone should learn about their identity, no matter what major you're in. We've all made wonderful impacts on research, and we should learn more about that. And I just want to thank you all for sharing your stories today, and just, you know, being so vulnerable with this group. We so appreciated hearing your insights, and we want to continue to center your needs as we move forward. So I just want to thank the panelists again. If we were all here, we would be clapping and you'd hear a roar of applause. I wish I would have had that on cue, ready to go for all of you. So I just want to thank everyone here for joining us and listening to the stories. We're going to be sharing some resources after this, along with a survey for today's event, in ways that we can connect with students, resources we can share with students, so that we all really have and play a role in helping our students adjust to the coming months and the new changes in spring. So I just want to thank everyone once again for joining us. Thank you, Mary Beth and William, for being excellent facilitators today. And again, our panelists. So thank you so much. We'll be in touch very soon. Thank you, everyone.